Hello, my name is Dan Martins. I welcome you to Day 3 Advanced Excel for Business. If you're joining us from a previous section, we'll be talking about some interesting part which I hope you enjoy. We'll be looking at our specific objective. First, we look at mathematical function, then SUMIF, COUNTIF, and we'll also look at AVERAGEIF. Alright, so let's jump in to our worksheet and see what we can do right there. Okay, so here's our worksheet, and I want to quickly start with something here. And I promised in our last part, or in our last edition, that is day 2, that I'm going to make something quickly and talking about to see some more example about the if function. So quickly, let's look at some example about the if function. Alright, so here we have a worksheet here, and which the first question here in this worksheet says enter formula to find 5% discount if the sales value is greater than 500. That means that we have the salesperson, we have the sales value, we have the discount value. So we want to find 5% of this discount value right here. So we'll talk about if. So if can help us to do that. So all you need to do is to say equal sign, then call up the if. Okay, equal sign if. Now I'm clicking if. Okay, sorry about that. So we have equal sign. Alright, so we say equal sign, sorry, if, then you open parenthesis, if this cell is greater than this cell. Okay, that is if B3 is greater than C1. Now I will make that C1 absolute cell reference so that no matter where I copy it to, it will not change. So I press F4 on my keyboard to make it absolute cell reference, then comma, then I will put if B3 greater than C1, then I will now come back and multiply B3. I will say B3 multiply by 5%. So I'll just put what 5%, otherwise 0. Then I will close my parenthesis. So what I want Excel to do here is that I want Excel to find 5% of sales value if the sales value is greater than 500. So you see my formula that say equal sign B3 greater than C1. C1 content where I have my 500. So Excel is using what is in B3 to compare, to check if that value is greater than what is in C1. If it's greater than what is in C1, multiply B3 with 5%, else 0. If I press enter here, what it will give me what 50. That means 50 here is 5% of 1000. So you can do your auto fill by double clicking, and you will see your auto fill coming out. Okay, I will be clear with that. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do here, as you can see, we found out that Excel have shown us 5% of this value right now, which is 50. So if I double click here now, you will see the formula which says what equal sign if B3 greater than C1. C1 is where we have the 500, then B3 multiplied by 5%, else 0. Right, so that's the formula used for that, because the question here is enter formula to find 5% discount if the sales value is greater than what 500. Okay, then in our next if here we have it says enter formula to display discount if the sales value is greater than 500 and no discount if the sales value is less than 500. So same thing, we are going to just say equal sign, we say if if this cell, just like we did before, if this cell is greater than 500 here, okay, then absolute cell reference by pressing F4, comma, then we open our quote and say what, discount, comma, or what, no discount, okay, no discount. So as you can see, Excel will check if that cell value is greater than 500, it will return discount. If it's not, it will return no discount. So as you can see from my formula, which says what, equals sign if B15 greater than C1, okay, then display discount, otherwise no discount. Alright, so right now you're going to press enter. So it shows us no discount because the sales value here is not greater than what, 500. Okay, it's like saying if the customer orders something above 500, give the person discount. If it's not, no discount. So in this case, we'll do auto fill to see for the rest. So we have some that has discount, some that doesn't have what, discount. Okay, so that's the formula you can use to achieve that. Another example, you can work with what, the if function. Alright, so how can we use the dialog box to work with this? Let me remove this result here. Now to use the dialog box, you can go to formula tabs, right, then go to logical. Remember, if is a logical function, so here you just click on what, the if formula or the if function. The Excel will add if here for you. Then I will now say what, this cell greater than what, 500. Okay, this cell greater than 500. Then if the cell is greater than 500, then I will say discount. Okay, I will say discount, or I will say what, no discount. Alright, no discount. So once I click OK, it will be the same way or the same method like typing the formula. So here I can do what, auto fill down to fill it down. So that's the formula you can enter to find discount if the server is greater than 500 and no discount. Okay. Alright, another example about this is when you go to the next example here. Okay, we have another example that says grade. So we want to use average to find the grade using if. Now here, average has been given, average of what, exam 1 and exam 2. So if I open this formula, you see that there's a formula there, okay, that says equals an average V4 to what, C4. So that gives us the average. So we're going to use the average to determine our grade. So by saying equal sign, again, if this cell that contains the average is D4 greater than what, 50. In this case, a student must score 50 in average to have what, pass. So if you don't score 50 above, then you'll be what, fail. So I'll just put here fail. Then I close it. Now look at the formula. What the formula is doing is that the formula is checking if D4, which is the average, if the average is greater than 50, then it return pass or fail. Alright, so here I press enter, and what it return is what, pass, because the average is greater than 50 for that particular person. So I will do what, autofill right here. Okay, so I will do my autofill. So that is how you can use the if function in this scenario, by finding the average, then find what, the grade using what, the if function. Okay, now I've already indicated that pass mark is greater than 50. That means student should have pass mark, or student pass mark should be greater than 50 if we can have what, pass. So the formula is there, which you can see and follow up. Alright, then for the and is a logical function. If you go to formula tab, you see logical, you see and. Okay, it says check whether all arguments are true and return true if all arguments are true. So we're going to use that and to find the grade also. So we're going to combine that to make it what, nested function. So if you combine more than one function, like 2, 3 function, that becomes what, a nested function. And we're also going to apply if in this case. So we say equal sign if and what, if this cell is greater than what, 50, comma, again, if this cell greater than what, 50. Then I close my parenthesis, comma, then return what? Pass, comma, or return what? Fair. Then I close this, then I can close my parenthesis. Now look at the formula there. If I press enter now, it's showing me pass. So what is that formula doing? The formula there says what? If and B4 greater than 50, C4 greater than 50. That means if all the score there are greater than 50, Excel will return pass. If not, it return what? Fail. So in this case, once I press enter, it return pass for this person. But once I do autofill, it return fail for the rest. For example, if you check the person that it returned fail to, that person score 40, which is less than 50, 40, which is less than 50, then return fail. Then what about this person that scores 61 and 40? This is greater than 50, but it's not greater than 50. That's why Excel return fail. Okay, so meaning exam 1 is greater than 50, but exam 2 is not greater than 50. Note that and 1 or the function or the argument or the value will be greater than what? 50. In other words, all the argument will be met before you give out the output. Alright, or before you give out the result. Alright. Okay, quickly, the next example we have there is still on if. Let's assume we have name and we have scores. Then the scores here is 30, 70, 75, and 75. Now we want to use the if to check after what we are doing. If a student score above 90, A, above 80, B, and so on. So here I will enter the if formula by saying equal sign if cell, okay, if cell C B3 is greater than 90. That's what we're going to enter here. So we say equal sign if cell B3 greater than 90. Okay, you can also use greater than or equal to. So if I say equal sign if cell B3 greater than or equal to 90. Now what do you want it to return? Let's say we return what? A, that is A grade, comma. So we follow that order by saying again if that same cell B3 is greater than what? 50, comma, or you can say greater than or equal to, like I said. So let's say greater than or equal to 80. Okay, comma. What do you want to see? If it's greater than 80, you say what? B. Okay, comma. Again, if that cell is greater than or equal to what? 70, comma. What do you want to see there? You want to see what? C. Okay, comma. Again, if that cell is greater than, that is if B3 is greater than or equal to what? Let's say 60, comma, greater than 60. Let's say we are looking at D. Okay, comma. And finally, if B3 is greater than or equal to what? 50, comma, greater than 50, we want to see what? E. Okay, else we now have what? F. Okay, so that means if the condition is not met, Excel will return what? F. I like us to know that in this case, number of parentheses open must be number closed. So we close with 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we close with 5 parentheses because if you look at this formula now, we open with 5 parentheses. That is 5 bracket. So you have to close with what? 5. So look at all the syntax, all the argument that we included, the comma and so on. So this formula will return A if the student score 90 or that is greater than or equal to 90. Return B if the student score greater than or equal to 80. Return C if the student score greater than or equal to 70. So by pressing enter, what I have is F. F because this person, Gravani, score less than 50, that is 30. So it return what? F. So let's check it out for the rest. Okay, so autofill will let us see the rest. So but if I should now come back here and change this 30 to maybe 90, it returns to what? A. If I now change this 75 for example to maybe 81, it should now turn to what? B. Because if you look at our formula here, greater than or equal to what? 80 is B. Greater than or equal to what? 70 is C, and so on. So you follow that order to create a nested if function that contains more than one argument. Alright, so that is how you can create a nested if function. Okay, so let's quickly look at our SUMIF, which is the next thing we are going to look at here. Alright, nested, just like nested if, we have SUMIF. SUMIF sum a range of cells based on a given condition, and it's what a statistic function, just like every other function. So when you go to formula tabs, you will see math and trick. So just like statistic function, we have mathematical function, we have lookup function, but SUMIF is mathematical function. So that's why you go to math and trick, and down there you will see what SUMIF. Okay, if you scroll down, okay, you will see what SUMIF somewhere here. Okay, we have SUMIF here. So we're going to use SUMIF to sum this, because the question here is total value of cells where each cell person so product value of over 6,000 in a month. That means that this value of cells, we should do what? Find or calculate or sum those value of cells here that are greater than about 6,000. So in this case, we're going to use what? SUMIF. We're going to say equal sign SUMIF. Then we select our range. Then we now put what? Our criteria. Criteria must be enclosed with double quote, because criteria can be in form of expression, can be in form of what? A number. Okay, so we now say greater than what? 6,000. Then we close this. Okay, so you see that. So if you look at the formula is not summing everything, it's summing those range, those cells that are greater than what? 6,000. That's those value of cells in column D that are greater than what? 6,000. Okay, because you may have some range, you may have some value, but you don't necessarily need to sum all of them, you don't necessarily need to add all of them. If you want to add all of them, then you use what? Normal sum function. But so far you want to sum based on a given condition or a given criteria, use what? SUMIF. So that is how the formula look like. So if as you press enter here, you see that the result there is what? 13,000. Okay, because it's only summing those ones that greater than what? 6,000. If I now remove greater than and put what? Less than, and press enter, it will now show us 12,250, because what the formula is doing now is summing those value of cells that are less than what? 6,000. So here you can use any of those comparison operator like greater than, less than, not equal to check this out when you want to use the SUMIF. Okay, quickly, another part of this SUMIF is this. If you look at this worksheet, we said allowance for years of service greater than 5. Okay, but first of all, let's say we want to sum allowance greater than 40,000. What will it be if you are summing allowance greater than 40,000? Okay, so let's say we want to sum allowance greater than 40,000. So we now say equal sign SUMIF. Then we select our range. In this case, our range is what? Allowance from this column down here, which is what? C5 to what? C11, comma. What is our criteria? Open your double quote, greater than what? 40,000. Okay, so close this, then close this. So that means that SUMIF C5 to C11 greater than 40,000. That means we want Excel to go into column C that contains our allowance and sum those allowance greater than what? 40,000. So when you press enter, that is what? 295,000. Okay, that means our allowance that greater than 40,000, 295,000. That means those staff that earn above 40,000, their total allowance is what? 295,000. So that's another way you can use what? The SUMIF. So looking at the formula, you can create any SUMIF formula to calculate based on a given condition. Remember, your condition or your criteria must be put in what? Double quote. Okay, now look down on the formula. You see that we have range, criteria, and sum range. Sum range is optional, meaning at some point we may not need it. Okay, but when can we use the sum range? Now in this case, let's use the sum range here. The sum range is used when you have other column to add up to your value or to your formula. So let's say equal sign, because the question here is allowance for years of service greater than 5. So now it's equal sign SUMIF. In our SUMIF, we select our range because Excel is checking if those value are greater than what? Greater than 5. Okay, if those values greater than 5, go and sum their allowance, then we close our parenthesis. So what that means is that sum if B5 to B11 greater than 5. That means check column B5 to B11. Is there any value or is there any years of service greater than 5? If there is, go to column C and sum the allowance. So once I press enter, Excel is giving us 160,000, which is what? 7 years. Okay, 7 years, then 9 years, then what? 6 years. Okay, so it's taking 55,000, 40,000, and 65,000 to give us what? 160,000. Okay, because from our years of service, those are the value, those are the years of service that are greater than what? 5. So if years of service greater than 5, Excel will sum what? Their allowance. That is what that formula is doing. Okay, so sum if can be used when you want to sum a range of cells based on what? A given condition. Okay, now we also have average if. Okay, average if. Now average if is used when you want to find average based on what? A given condition. Let's say you want to find average for those cells or for those allowance that are greater than what? 50,000 or greater than 40,000. So that means we are finding the average based on a condition. And what's our condition? Go into column C for allowance, find those average or calculate those average that are greater than what? 50,000. So let's say equal sign. We now say what? Average average if. Alright, then we select what? Our cells, then comma, provide our criteria that is greater than 40,000 in this case, then close this and close our parenthesis. So exactly the same way sum if work is how average if work, just that average find average, sum the total value. Okay, so average will give us arithmetic mean of a given value that is based on a condition in this case. So by the time you press enter, it will give you the average. So look at how the formula look like in case you want to apply to find average of a given value based on condition or criteria. So by pressing enter here, giving us 59,000. That means in this column called allowance, those allowance or the average for allowance greater than 50,000 or greater than 40,000 rather is what? 59,000. Okay, so you can use the sum if to sum based on a given condition or criteria. You can use the average if to find average based on a given condition or criteria. So feel free to use any of these when you want to add a sum of value based on a given condition.